What's up, guys? Carolina Jackpot coming at you August 19th, 2020. Practices for the 2020 season are getting geared up, and everybody is a go as of right now for the three major conferences that are going to play college football in 2020, and in the smaller conferences as well. And I wanted to talk about players who've opted out. So far, as of today, we have 73 players who have opted out, who are not going to be playing this year. And I already did a video on this a couple of weeks ago on whether this was a good thing or whether this was a bad thing. Today we're actually going to break down some of the players and what kind of impact it may have on some of these teams. Now, as a precursor to this, we are not going to do any players from the Big Ten or the Pac-12 because those conferences have decided not to go forward with fall sports in 2020. Of course, we already know about the Micah Parsons of Penn State, the linebacker who will be opting out. So, I mean, obviously it's a moot point at this time. Rondell Moore of Purdue and Rashad Bateman, Minnesota. All those players opted out, and then the season was canceled for the Big Ten. So we won't be discussing that. But we're going to talk about our three major conferences, SEC, ACC, and the Big 12, along with a couple of the smaller conferences as well who had some big-time players that opted out, as well as one of the independent teams. Hopefully, guys, we don't see a lot more of this. We did see one big-name player, well, not necessarily from a big-time school today to opt out, but a big-time player for that school that opted out. And this is after his team was a couple of weeks into camp for the 2020 season. I hope we don't have many more. I hope we don't have many more. There are some schools out there who don't have any. There are some schools that have multiples. It's just... there's just a hodgepodge. It's just all across the board, and it doesn't really follow a certain pattern other than I could think that word of mouth spreads maybe between players at one certain institution, and maybe there's maybe some bad feelings there with the coaching staff too that have compounded it, and maybe this just makes it easier to not even have to play because at this point you don't really want to anyway. I'm not sure, but we're going to go over all that. I understand why these dudes have chosen to do this. I mean, I really do. Some of them are projected to be high-round draft picks in 2021, and they will preserve their draft status. And this gives them an easy option to do that without a whole lot of rebuttal. I remember in 2013, Jadeveon Clowney for South Carolina, who ended up being the #1 overall draft pick in 2014. There was discussion about him before the 2013 season not playing, just like sitting the freaking season out, man. After his freshman season in 11 and his sophomore year in 2012, just like he wasn't going to play, just to keep himself healthy for the NFL draft. But that didn't happen. Now, I mean, this is really legitimately happening with some of these dudes. So I understand why they're doing it, but still, with some of them, like, you got some players on here that really have not seen any significant playing time. So why they're doing this is, I mean, it's questionable. And I guess they got their own motives, and I ain't going to judge them. But, I mean, it's not something I would do. Florida is a team that I've heard they've had 2 or 3, maybe even 4 players who are going to opt out, but all the lists that I've seen, I have not seen these guys listed on here, so we're not going to cover them right now because it's not in black and white that they're opting out. Also, while you're watching this, I want you to go down to the description box below the video, and I'll put it down there after I upload this video. I want you to go over, view, and subscribe. My little buddy, SEC Football Tube. SEC Football Tube. He is a Gamecock fan living in Arizona. How about that? I bet you don't see a lot of those. Not a lot of Gamecock fans living in Arizona. I do have a guy who I used to be friends with on Facebook. For some reason, he unfriended me. I don't really know why. I don't really give a shit. But he was a Gamecock fan also, living in Arizona. His name was Mel Booknight. And Mel was the only his name was actually AZ Gamecock on Snapchat, if you want to Snapchat him. But anyway, not a lot of Gamecock fans out there in the Sunshine State? What do you call Arizona? Desert State. But SEC Football Tube puts out some really good content. I enjoy his videos. He did one breaking down our 2020 season, and it was really thorough, and I like the good job that he did. He's almost at 1,000 subscribers. I think he's got like 800 and some change. Y'all go over there and watch his video. Give it a like and give him a sub, please. Let's get him up over 1,000 subscribers so he can start monetizing some of his good content. As far as I've seen, he's having a rough go of it a little bit family-wise. His mom having some health issues. So go over there and check out SEC Football Tube. Let's give him a little bit of love as well. And then it's talking about these players, man. Like I said, as of today, 73 have opted out. And here are just some of the highlights, some of the big names, and what the kind of impacts we may have. We see Gregory Rousseau, defensive end from Miami, on August the 6th. He decided to opt out. He's a sophomore. Last year he had 15.5 sacks, 19.5 tackles for loss from his defensive end position. He's predicted to be a high draft pick in 2021. Now he's a sophomore coming in, so I'm guessing he's redshirted 1 year. You got to be out of high school for 3 years there. So Rousseau is a player they are definitely going to miss down there at Miami. I know that Manny Diaz was banking on that defense being really improved, and a lot of people got some high hopes for Miami. That's just another thing. That's just a team. It's just a wait and see thing. I don't know if they will or if they won't, but they're definitely going to miss him off that defensive line this year. Tough break for the Hurricanes. Jalen Twyman, a junior who is a defensive tackle for Pitt. You don't hear me talk a lot about Pitt players, just basically because, I mean, it's just not a football team that people really get excited about. But on August 8th, he decided to opt out. He's a junior, had 41 tackles last year, 10.5 sacks. And Pitt was the #1 team in the country, led the country in sacks. So he was a big part of that defensive line up there for Coach Pat Narduzzi. They were, looking to take it to the next level. They went to a bowl game last year. Had been to the ACC championship game a couple of years ago. Maybe had sights set back on that again. But losing Jalen Twyman is, going to be a major loss along that. That defensive front for Pitt. Someone could really put some pressure on opposing quarterbacks, as his 10.5 sacks last year would definitely attest. Caleb Farley, cornerback for Virginia Tech. He's a junior. This kid was tied for second in the ACC with interceptions with 4 last year. Interesting stat from over on Pro Football Focus. The opposing quarterbacks that Virginia Tech played had a 26.8% passer rating when they tried to pass the ball to Mr. Farley's side of the field. Now, if you don't know numbers, that's really, really bad. He was locked down, man. He was locked down. That defense ranked number 42 nationally last year, and with 10 starters coming back this year, and he was one of them, Virginia Tech was looking to make a step in the Coastal. Before all this stuff hit, that was my pick to win that Coastal Division. A lot of people were, pretty much everybody was banking on UNC. Maybe scoring over 40 points a game. And I get that, but I think UNC's defense is a little suspect. Virginia Tech's defense, that stuff was right, man. That defense was right. And they had all the tools to be really good, and they still do. They still do have a lot of tools there to be really good. But, losing him is really going to be a big blow for Virginia Tech. So, hopefully we see him back. But this is another kid, I believe, who's eligible for the NFL draft as well. So maybe Mr. Farley you don't see again in a Hokie uniform. today, this one was a little bit breaking, a little bit surprising to me. Sage Surratt, junior wide receiver for the Wake Forest Demon Deacons, opts out. This kid had 66 catches last year, 1,001 yards. Yep, he went 1 yard over 1,000. 11 touchdowns in 2019, and he only played 9 games. He was hurt a little bit too. The best player on their team, without question. He's going to prep for the 2021 NFL draft. Said that he talked it over with his family, and they didn't want to play. Interesting thing about him, though, he has a brother named Chaz Surratt, who is a starting linebacker at UNC. Now, if you remember the name Chaz Surratt played quarterback for UNC in 2018, the last year of the Larry Fedora shit show. So it's kind of strange that Sage hasn't opted out. Could that be because UNC is a contender and has everybody returning, and is looking to make a big splash in maybe the top 15, top 10 this year. And Wake Forest only has 3 returning offensive starters, including they lost their quarterback, Jamie Newman. He's gone, graduate, transfer to Georgia. Maybe Sage just said, hey, I don't have a lot around me. Maybe I should just take this year off. It bears watching. It's kind of weird. You said the family helped them make the decision. Wouldn't you think the family would kind of maybe make the same decision for your brother? Yeah. And North Carolina has had some players opt out, and a lot of teams have had other multiple players opt out that I'm not listing here in the big ones because they're just I'm not going to say they don't matter because everybody matters, but they're bit players. They're guys who are maybe like redshirt freshmen, and this is going to be their first action of the year. Maybe they've started games here and there sporadically, maybe played some on special teams, haven't meant a whole lot. I don't want to say haven't meant a whole lot to the team, but just haven't made a lot of significant contributions as yet to the team. A lot of these players like that. A lot of those 73 make that up, and the majority of those 73 are made up by that. The American Athletic Conference, there's really no one of note on here who's opting out this year. There's most of these players, like I said, in the American Athletic have seen limited action. And I think that's because you get American Athletic teams. I mean, these guys are they're not getting the bones thrown to them. They have to work, for what they're going to earn here. For NFL teams to look at them, they're going to have to work just a little bit harder than some of these SEC players and these ACC players to get that exposure. You don't see, no one's opted out in the American Athletic, and as far as I know, they're on to play football full bore. Over in the, the Big 12, we've seen Kennedy Brooks from Oklahoma, but the most marquee name. He's a junior running back. Kennedy has back-to-back 1,000-yard rushing seasons. Oklahoma has always got a prolific passing game. They normally have a quarterback who can run around, make plays on his feet as well. I think Spencer Rattler will also be that guy this year. But that's going to be a serious blow to them as far as making a college football playoff. If we have one, if there is one, or whatever kind of postseason we have, you would think Oklahoma would be one of the teams in the running for that. Losing Kennedy Brooks is going to be bad. Their next leading rusher, whose name escapes me, only has a tad over 500 yards. And this is on August 16th when he chose to do this. So just a few days ago, 6 touchdowns. Not a lot of scoring by Kennedy Brooks, but between the 20-yard lines, I mean, he was running the ball at a pretty effective clip for them, and that's going to be a huge loss for the Sooners and old Lincoln Riley. I almost forgot his name. We've been talking about so much today about players, I forgot coaches' names. West Virginia, the Mountaineers lose Kerry Martin, a sophomore safety. This kid notified people on August the 5th by Twitter that he was going to sit out the 2020 season. Now, I don't know the ins and outs of that. I don't know exactly what happened with that. Maybe he did notify his coach first, Coach Neil Brown. I would hope so. I mean, hopefully your coach didn't just find this out on a tweet that you put out there for everybody to see. Surely was a little bit more mature than that. But anyway, it was put out on Twitter. And this kid had 50 tackles as a freshman in 2019. This defense ranked number 74 nationally. So they really needed him. He's going to be a starter this year. West Virginia gave up a lot of points last year, a lot of yards, looking to right the ship there. And Brown looking to get that team back to bowl eligibility, back to their 9-10 win seasons that they've been accustomed to in the past. And losing a kid like that is definitely going to be harmful or hurtful to their success in 2020. Southern Miss, down in Conference USA. Southern Miss. What's going on with you? They were 7-6 last year. They are losing to opting out wide receiver Jalen Adams Jr., who returned 3 kicks for touchdowns in 2019. He had a 26.1 yard average on kickoff returns. Man, that is outstanding. That's a huge weapon. That's giving you field position at midfield almost all the time. Linebacker named Rasheem Booth, who's a senior, got 49 tackles last year. This kid's decided he's going to transfer out after this year of sitting out. He's going to transfer to another school, as is defensive end Jox Turner. He had 13 tackles for a loss last year, 5.5 sacks for the Golden Eagles. He's transferring out to another school. So, not really sure what's going on down at Southern Miss, but man, that doesn't sound good for them. Actually, they were predicted to be, pretty good this year in Conference USA, and you got to wonder now, what's that going to do to them? New Mexico State. This is an independent team. And you don't want to make fun here of New Mexico State. They're not a good team. They finished up 2-10 last year, and most of those 10 losses were really significant. It was by a lot of points. They are losing their best player on defense. Linebacker is a senior, Rasheen Hodge. 90 tackles last year on a team that had the number 102 total defense in the country. Now, I mean, on a 2-10 team at number 102, that's halfway respectable. I mean, you might think they would be closer to like number 130. Not that 102 is good. But that's a huge blow. That was their best player on defense, probably the best player on the team, and he's opted out as well. So, I don't know what New Mexico State's schedule is going to be. They're independent. I mean, how many games they're going to be able to play, I'm not really sure. But, I don't even know that I even see them even be able to win a game this year. That's bad. This video is brought to you by Miller Lite and staying the course for 2020. Talking SEC now. You don't see, as yet, a lot of opting out in the SEC. There's not a whole lot there. There are some, like I said, dip players on some teams. Auburn has had a couple of players who, have started a few games here and there, not really made a huge impact, who have decided to sit out. Of course, we know the Florida thing. I haven't seen any of that in black and white yet, so I'm not sold on it. But LSU is losing or nickelback Kerry Vincent this year. He's a senior, and they needed him. They needed him in that defensive backfield this year after the loss of Grant Delpit, who was a really good player for them. Would have made a big difference back there with rising sophomore Derek Stingley Jr. Vincent's going to concentrate on the 2021 draft. A big blow for LSU in the defensive backfield. They also lost a kid up front, too. South Carolina, my Gamecocks, we did lose a starter, Jordan Rhodes, on the offensive line. He's a junior. Jordan started 10 games in 2019. And was he a great offensive lineman? No. He was learning his craft, however. He was going to be poised to make an impact this year. And let's just face facts. With, the problems we've had on the offensive line at South Carolina in, I'd say, at least the past 5-6 years. We can ill afford to lose anyone who has experience or can add depth to that offensive line, especially when we have limited experience coming back at running back and a freshman who's looking to make a big splash, and he's losing guys up front. He's losing those big hogs, man, who are going to be opening up some holes for him. That's a problem, and it's not good. So Jordan Rhodes will be sitting out the season for the South Carolina Gamecocks. And then Vanderbilt. Poor old Vanderbilt, man. Already they're going to have to deal with a new defensive coordinator and a new offensive coordinator, trying to switch up schemes, a quarterback who hasn't started before, and now they have lost to opting out linebacker Dimitri Moore Jr., who's probably one of the only names on Vanderbilt's roster that you understand or would recognize, rather. He was one of 11 returning starters on that defense for Vanderbilt. I don't care that Vanderbilt wasn't really good last year. You got 11 starters coming back on your defense. That's pretty doggone significant. That is pretty good. Anybody would love to have that, especially when you have a defensive coordinator coming in like a Ted Roof. Now, Ted has been all over the place, man. He has been from here, there, to Timbuktu. He's been everywhere. I mean, this is the ultimate journeyman football coach. He's been a head coach. He's been a D coordinator. He's been a position coach. He's done it all. I mean, he's like Todd Zeal in baseball, like a Kenny Lofton, like the ultimate journeyman. But he's got the experience. And with 11 returning starters, man, that could have one of the better defenses in the SEC. Problem is, the offense, I don't think, was going to be able to keep that defense off the field 90% of the time, kind of like the problem we had last year with the Gamecocks. So it's still going to have some problems. But losing the returning Dimitri Moore, who had 99 tackles last year, that is not good. That's not good for Vanderbilt when they're already behind the 8 ball. And I feel bad for, I really do, man. I really do feel bad for Derek Mason. He's a good football coach. I like him. He's got a good stern look to him. He just looks like an athlete. I mean, he has an athletic body. He looks like somebody who can compete, who likes competition. And I just think it sucks for him that he's got a job where it's ultimately really, 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 really hard to be successful. Although, I mean, he took that head coaching job. And I swear, I think he's a really good defensive coach and a really good defensive mind. And I swear, next year, man, I'm already just thinking about it, man. Already thinking about it. If things fall apart at South Carolina this year, which is very possible, look who our head man is, and they give Muschamp the axe. Whoever comes in to coach that team, if Derek Mason gets let go this year, that's someone that they should definitely take a long, hard look at as coming in as a defensive coordinator. He's got the SEC, the SEC knowledge. He's been in and out of the conference, been a head coach here since 2014. I like him a lot. They also have lost starting offensive linemen Bryce Bailey, Cole Clemens, and Jonathan Stewart. Are any of these guys superstars? No, they're not. But they're still starters. Stewart, I think, is a kid who wasn't expected, slated to start, but he has starting experience. So at some point in time, he would have been starting for Vanderbilt this year. So they're definitely going to have some problems, guys. Like I said, just wrapping it up, I hope we don't have any more guys opting out, although history would suggest to me that we will. September 12th is going to be the first games for teams in the ACC. Right now, we're looking at August the 19th today. We're staring straight into August the 20th tomorrow, and I don't think that there are going to be that many more kids who are going to opt out. Outside of Sage Surratt, these other kids did this a couple weeks ago, so hopefully everybody else will we'll stay with the ship. We'll have limited injuries during the conditioning period here, and we'll be able to have some good football. Week 1, I'm looking for some really rusty football, to be quite honest with you, out of both the ACC and the SEC. Because, both of these conferences, both these teams, they're used to honing their craft the first couple of weeks against the Charleston Southerns and the Furmans and the UNC Charlottes of the world. And this year, they're not going to get to do that. They're not going to get to do that. South Carolina game 1, right from the frying pan into the fryer pan. We got Tennessee first game. And this is Carolina jackpot. This is not Homer Carolina jackpot talking like talked yesterday. This is realistic Carolina jackpot talking. Arkansas, another team that's got a first-year head coach, first-year system. Boom. You got Georgia, one of the top 5 teams in the country, staring you right in the face, coming in your place, first week of the season. It's gonna be interesting. You're gonna see some sloppy football. You're gonna see some shit shows, I do believe, in the first few weeks of the season. But I think these teams will work these kinks out, as they always do, and the cream will rise to the top as it usually does throughout the season. But guys, I appreciate you watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please like the video. Drive that like button home. I need to get the YouTube algorithm pumped up a little bit. Pump up the algorithm. Pump it up. Pump it up. Pump it. Okay, we're not gonna be silly anymore. Let's get that thing pumped up, and subscribe if you're not subscribed already. We're gonna do lots of good college football videos here during this season. We're ride or die, baby. We are ride or die. No matter how long this season lasts, what happens, what kind of turns and twists it takes, I'm gonna be here for you, and we're gonna have a lot of fun doing it. I promise you that. I'll see y'all later. Appreciate it, baby. Peace, and I'm out. Go Gamecocks and fire, boom, woo, Spurs up to my toes up, babe.